Over a year ago, I brought this story to you about this 304 who was a police officer in Tennessee, Laverne, Tennessee. She went popping her musty thought pocket all over the police department, in the building, outside of the building, at hotels, at boat parties. A wild 304 who was also married, by the way, to a man from a super religious family. She's married to the pastor's son. Maegan Hall cheated on her husband with men at work, other police officers, and even had a three-way fling going on with this officer and his wife. Yes, Becky was giving Becky all over the place at the amusement park, by some lockers, no shame whatsoever, until she was fired and exposed.
A shakeup on one Rutherford County police force. 5 Laverne officers were fired and 2 were recently suspended. Welcome to News 2 at 4. Mark Kelly.
And I'm Alex Dennis. Tori Gessner has been digging for information on this story. She joins us at the WKRN.com alert desk with what we know now.
Well, Mark, Alex, it's really not much. We're working to figure out why they were fired. I filed an open records request to get more information on the 7 officers. I also reached out to the TBI and the district attorney's office to ask if they're aware and investigating. The Laverne Police Department currently has 60 sworn officers and 11 open sworn positions. Alex.
I'll tell you why they got fired. A bunch of officers lost their jobs along with Maegan after an investigation into her 304 activities. And now I had to bring you an update on this story. The woman flipped this whole thing around from being a free, I can do whatever I want bopper to a victim. Last year, I reported that she went and got a lawyer and sued the city. The city has since settled with her for how much? How about $500,000? We're going to get into it, but first, take a second to make sure you're subscribed to the channel and click the notification bell for all updates. If you're watching from Tennessee, drop Tennessee below in the comments. To refresh your memory, let's go back to about a year and a half ago, January 2023, when I first brought you this story. Take a look. Jason Cole, mayor of Laverne, a town of 40,000 people, 20 miles southeast of Nashville, announced that Maegan had been fired along with 4 officers she's alleged to have had flings with last year while on and off duty. 3 other officers were suspended. The ThotCop performed acts while on city property and on the clock. She was meeting up with one of her colleagues at a hotel. She went to their homes. She was at boat parties and hot tub parties, taking off her Magic City uniform completely. And she even had an affair with one of her colleagues and his wife. It was an internal investigation that exposed all of this. Detective Seneca Shields, he confessed that Maegan gave him in the department's gym while on duty. And of course, he was terminated. Then there's Patrick Magliocco. He's a patrol officer very familiar with Maegan. While at a Memorial Day hot tub party on a boat, Maegan took her top off in front of Patrick, as well as 2 other officers, David Durham and Eric Statz. Patrick was pouring alcohol down her throat, and when she took her top off, Eric Statz, who owned the boat, claims he helped her put it back on because she was embarrassing herself. According to Patrick, though, when they got off the boat, Maegan approached him and said, "Do you want to F?" And that's when she performed an act on him. The other 2 officers on the boat, the officer that owned the boat and Officer Durham, said they did not have an inappropriate relationship with Maegan. But Patrick, on the other hand, he claims that he and his wife was in a full-blown 3-way relationship with Maegan. Patrick told investigators that Maegan kissed his wife, Amy. Maegan's husband saw her doing this and he was upset. Patrick, though, he was not fired. Instead, they suspended him. Next, you have Gavin Showborough. He was suspended and charged with harassment after exchanging explicit images with Maegan, as well as K-9 officer Larry Holliday. He was suspended and charged with harassment. He admitted to investigators that he was having off-duty relations with Maegan, where they will meet up at hotels in his house. Lewis Powell, he's one of the officers who first denied that he was involved. Investigators said that Maegan Hall performed acts on Powell while he was on duty, and after she did what she did to him, she went around the whole department bragging about it and repeating that he had a BBC. Powell later confessed to the allegations and he was terminated. Juan Lugo Perez also initially denied claims that he had relations with Maegan, but later admitted that he was lying and he did have relations with her while at Go Kart USA in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. In addition to having relations in a public place, Juan Lugo Perez and Maegan Hall exchanged photos. Juan was also terminated. And then last, you have Sergeant Henry Ty McGowan. He admitted to having relations with Maegan twice, most recently on December 4th at his house in Laverne. Maegan claims that Sergeant McGowan told her to use him if she ever wanted to have relations, and they would trade pictures back and forth. Sergeant McGowan also terminated. So of the 4 officers terminated, you have Henry Ty McGowan, Juan Lugo Perez, Seneca Shields, and Lewis Powell. Larry Holliday was suspended, Gavin Showbro was suspended, as well as Patrick Magliocco, who was having an affair with Maegan along with his wife. These 3 men all suspended. So that was my original report from January 2023. At that time, Maegan had been terminated, along with 4 other officers. 3 of them Black, 1 of them Latino. Since all this happened, the police chief was also fired. I know for sure 1 of them decertified, so they're unable to work in law enforcement in the state of Tennessee ever again. And these 3 officers here, they were allowed to keep their jobs after a suspension. Now, after she was fired and exposed as a ThotCop, embarrassing her husband and his whole family in such a small town, Maegan came out and flipped completely. She went and got the lawyer and showed up on TV, looking like Stewie's big sister from Family Guy. Yeah, that Meg. Maegan Hall got on TV, looking like Meg Griffin, went and found these glasses and turned into a whole victim. You know, all of a sudden all the black guys groomed her.
She was looked at as a piece of meat to be sexualized and exploited.
Since the story broke, Hall, the lone female officer fired and only woman on the second shift, became a target nationwide for sexual jokes and taunting.
I received harassing and threatening messages on my phone daily. I felt like I had been terrorized.
And yes, now she is suing. No criminal charges have been filed in the case. Hall knows there are those who will say she was a consenting adult who willingly participated in sexual antics in violation of police department policy, and that now she wants to blame others, including one sergeant who targeted her early on.
I know what most people are saying. You know, you could have said no. I get it.
This, by the way, was the most disgusting part for me. After she was running around with her Magic City uniform around her ankles in the locker room and bragging about men and their sizes, she instantly converted into a victim. Her attorney wrote all of these lies in that lawsuit for money, complete lies used to extort the city. And as far as her spineless husband, at first I felt sorry for him, but when he decided to stay with this Skittle 304, who was tasting the rainbow every 24 hours, all to save face with their church family, when the husband did that, I could no longer feel sorry for him because there's no reason why he should have stayed with this disgusting 304 who was running around with the blacks, the Latinos, the Italian's wife, literally tasting the rainbow. I don't know how he could even look at her again. Very disgusting. And she didn't just get fired and go away. She turned around and sued the city, became a victim, and the city ended up settling with this Jezebel for $500,000.
Thank you, Katie. You may remember the eyebrow-raising sex scandal that rocked the Laverne Police Department. We first told you about the mess in January of last year. The shocking details sounded like a bad movie script, made national news, as 5 officers and then the police chief all fired. The city then found itself facing a lawsuit filed by a former female officer. Well, tonight word comes the city has settled the case with a hefty payment. Our Nikki Hauser heard directly from city leaders.
After that scandal, former police officer Maegan Hall sued the city. Then tonight, over a year later, the city of Laverne held a special meeting in which they decided they would pay out Maegan Hall $500,000, officially ending that lawsuit.
Motion to approve as it is written here.
It took less than 5 minutes.
No.
Alderman Hobbs?
Aye.
Alderman Hobbs?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dunn?
Aye.
Motion passes.
For the Laverne city leaders to say yes, they'll pay former police officer Maegan Hall $500,000.
What message does that send to all the other employees?
Alderman Dennis Waldron was the only dissenting vote.
He's sending a message out to everybody in the world, said, come to Laverne, sue Laverne because they're going to settle.
Dennis definitely had a point there. You can go on the job and pop your thought pocket and hand out Becky like a Christmas card and then charge the city all this money. There's no city official in that town with that kind of salary. And not just that town, but pretty much everywhere. And they had to give her this money? Yeah, I definitely understand his frustration.
The city as a whole now agreeing to pay Hall, but denying any admission of liability.
It's hard being in the minority.
Her attorney wrote that for her too. But hey, here's your DEI hire. A DEI 304. Would you look at that?
This after the story of the Laverne police sex scandal exploded early last year, revealing a pattern of inappropriate activity inside the department. Reports detail sex between officers on duty and on city property, intimate photos and videos shared among officers, and silence from the police chief, who was clued into what was happening.
Convince her to engage in sexual activity that she didn't want to.
Hall and her lawyer claim it was a hostile work environment that groomed her.
While I was aspiring to protect my community, the Laverne Police Department was not protecting me.
She, along with 4 other officers and the police chief, were fired. Hall talked to News Channel 5 about the affair early last year.
I know what most people are saying. You know, you could have said no. I get it. But my response to them is that I did say no.
Look at this liar. So when you went to that yacht party, taking off your Magic City uniform and kissing people's wives, begging them to do you know what, you couldn't say no? She's acting like everybody was coming for her, for some adventure, when this pathetic loser was the one running around, throwing herself at anybody who would take it. This woman is literally for the streets, but for the last year, she's been popping up like a church mouse.
And he wouldn't take it for an answer.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Eventually, I gave in from pressure.
Wednesday's vote ends both Hall's lawsuit against the city and against 3 of her former superiors in the department.
We have improved a lot.
As the city still works to rebuild trust in the public eye. Nikki Hauser, News Channel 5.
Thank you, Nikki. The city says their insurance provider will pay the $500,000 to Hall. They say it's a gross settlement, including court costs, attorney's fees, and expenses. To be clear, they say it's not taxpayer money, and the city adds that they still deny any admission of liability.
Okay, it doesn't matter where the money is coming from. This is still horrible. She was not only a part of the group, but she was the one running around trying to seduce men. And I'm still trying to figure out how, because Meg Griffin is just not it. I'm sorry. And she didn't deserve 1 red cent. This woman is not a victim. She's an opportunist who found a way to make some money off her musty thought pocket and ran off with $500,000. Absolutely crazy. And these men messing with her, well, at least the Black and Latino men caught up in this. This is a lesson for you too. Although it's wrong for everybody to carry on like this, it's absolutely unacceptable for you. You see, you're not getting away with it. And no, I don't feel sorry for you either, because you know what time it is. Y'all out here risking everything, your job, your freedom, your pension, your family, your image, your reputation for this? No, all of y'all are out of order and you walked right into this trap. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Tell me what you think about the officers suspended, the ones fired, Meg Griffin running off on the plug with $500,000. Yeah, tell me what you think below. Shout out to Nick, as well as our brother Dark Power. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.